In this video, we're going to talk about modifying your SD card in your Lucky Duck eCall, meaning I'm wanting to add sounds, change sounds, add folders, create new names to my folders, anything like that. We're going to talk about it in this video. The first thing you need to do is pull out the SD card in the back of your eCall. Simply pull back the little rubber tab. You'll see the SD card down in there. Click it. It'll pop out. You pull it out and you're ready to go. Now, one thing you have to consider when modifying sounds on this SD card is sometimes a Mac computer does not work. So it's best to use a PC if you have access to one. From this point, I'm just going to insert the SD card into my SD card reader, and the files are going to pop up on your screen, and we can begin to add, modify, make changes, do whatever we want. So the first thing you're going to do is insert your SD card into your computer or your SD card reader, and you're going to see all the folders that are on that SD card popped up. So the first thing we want to do before we start messing with any sounds, we want to save all these sounds to your computer so that we have them for future use in case we accidentally delete them. So what we're going to do there, I'm just going to right click on my home screen. I'm going to click on new and folder, and we're going to label this, we'll just call it LD sounds. Okay. Then from here, I can go through and copy the entire sound library on that SD card, drag it over, and drop it into that folder. So now we have everything saved onto the computer in case we ever want to go back. Now from this point, I can start modifying things on that SD card to get it how I want. So the first thing you might look at and say, you know what, I'm not a crow and snow goose hunter, so I'm just going to delete that whole entire folder off there because I don't want it. So just delete that. Yes, delete it. Doesn't matter because I already do have it saved onto my computer. You know, let's go through and say, you know, I don't want that one on there. We're deleting it. Right click it, delete. All right. You know, everything else you're like, okay, that looks pretty good. But you say, you know, I'd like to add some new sounds, okay? So let's say you've bought some sounds either off Rick Paulette's website, Lucky Duck website, and you want to add them to your call. Let's say you specifically know that they are a rabbit sound, okay? So I can go to the rabbit folder I want, let's just say Cottontail, and that's going to show all the sounds that are currently on my SD card, okay? Then, hopefully, if you've bought sounds already, you have them saved to your computer. So for this example, I've already have this favorites folder here, and let's just say I'm going to open it up a little bit. I'm going to drag it over here so I can see, and I say, okay, let's add, these are all the new sounds that I've purchased and have saved to my computer, but I want to get them to my SD card. I open up my Cottontail folder, and let's just say I want to put Baby Cottontail Demise over into this. So all I'm going to do is drag that sound over to it, copy it to over here, and there you go. You'll see Baby Cottontail Demise now shows up in my Cottontail folder on my SD card. Now let's say you want to create a whole new folder, okay? So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this folder. I'm going to open this up a little bit. So let's say now I want to create a new folder where I can maybe put some of my favorites in there. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to click on new. I'm going to click on folder. It's going to show up down at the bottom. And let's just say I want to call it my favorites. So now I want to add sounds to my favorite folder. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the folder that are the sounds that I use the most. So let's just go to the Cottontail folder, and let's say I use a section or shelter belt Cottontail a lot. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to right click it. I'm going to use the copy. All right. Then I'm going to go back. I'm going to open up my favorites folder, and I'm going to right click in here and hit the paste, and all of a sudden you see shelter belt pop into that folder. Then I can go back. Let's say I want to put a pup distress in there that I use a lot. I can go down here to pup fights, and let's put good old schoolyard brawl in there. I'm just going to right click on it. I'm going to go to the copy. Then I'm going to go back, click on the favorites folder, open it up, right click, paste it, and there you go. Now I have that. And you can continue to put as many sounds in that folder as you want, and therefore when you have a favorites folder, you can pull that up on your remote, and it gives you access to the the sounds you use the most instead of jumping from folder to folder and everything around. It just will help you be a little more efficient once you're trying to run your remote. So one last thing to consider when you are copying sounds, you cannot copy an entire folder full of sounds over to your SD card. If you have a folder of saved sounds, you have to create the folder name and then copy each individual sound into that folder. For some reason, due to the programming, if you try to copy an entire folder and then pull your SD card out and put it in the call, you'll probably see a bunch of jumbled information on there. You may click one sound and it'll come up with a completely different sound. So if you have that issue, just remember, pull your SD card back out, redo those folders, copying individual sounds each time instead of entire folders over to your SD card. So now that I've modified my SD card and have it set up exactly how I want, you simply pull out the SD card, pop it in the back of the e-collar, turn your e-collar on, turn your remote on, and it will automatically update.